Okay, we're going to continue with the math help in the math work. Now, I know we didn't do anything about math in the last lesson, but that's because we had to just do a little bit of introduction. Let's get into some math now. So, what I want to do is start with a very simple program. I'm just going to erase this. We're still going to be using a scanner. Actually, I'm gonna retype it in just so we see everything, how this goes. So we'll be using a scanner, so we have to import it. Java.util.scanner. This is the class math help. Yeah. And we learned that the key entry point to programs is the driver method is called main, but it has to be static. So public static void main string args. Let's create a scanner. So we have to give it a file type. An object type is scanner, and I'll call it KB equals new scanner. And we'll be scanning the regular system.in. Later on, we'll scan some other things. All right, so I want to go back again to some of the methods in the scanner class. So again, if you're not sure how to get there, you can go to Help and click on Java Class Libraries, and it will bring it up. Okay, and just click there in that little search and type scanner, and you should find Java util.scanner. It has all the documentation, and we'll be using methods here, and the method we're going to use is another type of next. So last time we used just next. Well, what next does is it scans a string. Next scans what you have and then returns a string. That's the next we use. Well, we're going to use a different next. We're going to use next double and next int. So next double returns a double and next int returns an int. So let's try that. So we're going to say, I'm going to say int length, or just len. And I'm going to say kb.next int. Now, remember, next int is an instance method. It doesn't say the word static over here, so we have to call it on an instance of that class. The instance of my scanner class is KB. I call the instance method by calling it on KB. But I'm going to prompt my users. I'm going to say system.out.println, enter a rectangle length. Then I'm going to say system.out.println, enter a rectangle width. And again, when we call methods, we've talked about this a lot. If the method is not in the class that you're currently working in, then you either call it on the name of the class if it's a static method, or you call it on the name of an instance. 90% of the time, they're instance methods, so you call it on an instance. My instance of scanner is KB. That's my variable name for it. Then I say the name of the method, and nextInt does not take any parameters, you'll notice. They do have a nextInt that takes what's called a radix, but we're not using that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to print out the area. So let's make a variable for the area. Now the area of a rectangle is the length times the width. And now I'll simply print it out. So this is a simple one method program that simply scans in some information from the user and does a little bit of work. let's go ahead and run our program. In a rectangle length, I'll say 12. In a rectangle width, I'll say 5. And it prints out 60 as my area. So, if you're really bad at finding the area of a rectangle, here you go. Let's run it again. This time I want to type in something bad. I want to say, let's say that I type in, 12. Because I didn't realize I typed a number. Notice what it says. It says Java util dot input mismatch exception. And so it has this error, input mismatch exception, because we're saying next int, and they didn't give us an int. So the program shuts down. We should instead verify their input first. But we're not going to do that right now. We'll look at how to verify input later. So what I want to do, though, is so we're just going to let the program shut down. But I want to run it again, okay? Again, we run the static method. And this time, I want to type in 12.1. And again, we've got an input mismatch exception because 12.1 is not an integer. So by saying int, we're being very strict. So let's change this to a double. By using a double, we're allowing users to type in decimal values. So let's try that again. All right, this time I'm going to say 12.1. Oh, I messed up big time. I changed that to double, but I forgot to change this. Oops. We don't want to use next.int. What do you think we want to use? We don't want to use next.int. We want to use next double. We got to change that as well. So next double. So they have a next for every type of primitive. We've mainly focused on Boolean, so we have a next Boolean. We've learned Boolean, we've learned double, we've learned int. So those are the ones that we have, and you see there are others as well, like long, short, and byte, but we're just focused on these right now. Okay, I think we're good now, so we'll try that again. All right, I'll type in, 12.1, 5.2, and I get 62.92 for my area. All right, let's try the program again. Now, does it still work for me to enter, 12 and 6 again? Or 12 and 5? Yeah. So, by using next double, we're allowing ints. We're just, also allowing decimals. So I think that's a better way to go when you're doing math is to use a double. All right. Let's go back and let's verify. Okay? So notice these methods here called has, next. These are really great. So we're going to use the has next double, which returns true if the next token in the scanner's input can be interpreted as a double. All right, so this is a really cool method, this has next double and all that stuff. But unfortunately, we have to do a little bit more to use it here. This is really from reading data files. So we're just going to let our program let our program do some error fixing with the try catch block. So let's go ahead and see what the error is. So we're going to run the program. And what happens if I type in something that is not correct? Like I type in the letter A. We get a java.util.input mismatch exception. So I'm going to import that. It should be on our terminal window. You can just copy and paste it. Java.util.input mismatch exception. And so we're going to look at what's called a try-catch block. So we're going to say try. So we're going to try all of this code. Well, I'll put this in there as well. And then we're going to say catch. And you put in parentheses what you're going to catch. We're going to be catching an input mismatch exception. And we have to put a variable name for it, E. And so I want to just say system.out.println, please enter only numbers. Okay? So let's talk about what the try-catch block does. So try is telling Java, would you please try this? Catch means catch any errors that are caused of this type. And if that type happens, then print out this instead, or do something else. So this is going to prevent our program from just shutting down. Instead, it's going to, when someone messes up, tell them they messed up. And so we can enter something now. I'll type in like an F. And you'll see it says, please enter only numbers. It's a lot cleaner than just having all that red stuff. We could make it to where we could type again if we used a loop. So then I'll do, 465 and 21. So that's it. That's just some basics. We won't use try-catch very often in this class, but I did want to go ahead and show you just how that one way we could handle that. We'll use the has next and other stuff later to make it, handling input and handling unpredictable input is kind of a big part of it. These little special exceptional cases. In fact, that's what you call this. You call it an exception because it's an exceptional situation. It's outside the norm. So that's it for this lesson.